Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear class. I hope all of you are fine and safe at your home. In previous lecture, we started discussion upon techniques to study the gene expression and protein function, and we have studied about the preparation of the genomic libraries, cDNA libraries, and how can we make use of the green fluorescent protein to locate the expression of the gene within the cell. We will continue the discussion upon these techniques in this lecture too. So let's begin the lecture. In this lecture, first we see why it is important to identify the protein-protein interaction and what methods are used for protein-protein interaction identification. We will discuss the three main methods, which include the immunoprecipitation, then tandem affinity purification, and then yeast to hybrid system. The principle of all the three methods is different. Like in immunoprecipitation, we actually precipitate our protein of interest along with the specific antibody that interact with our protein of interest, and along with it we can also precipitate the proteins which are making complex with the protein of interest. So we are actually isolating or precipitating the whole protein complex. Then in tandem affinity purification, we are using the tag system. It works on the principle of affinity chromatography, as we will see in this lecture, that we are using the two tags and we are actually purifying the protein at two levels. Then the third system, which is most commonly used to find out the interaction of protein with the protein, is the yeast to hybrid system. We will see that it works on the principle of binding of the DNA binding domain and activation domain, and if both domains come in close vicinity to one another, then they can show the expression of the reporter gene. And we attached the protein of interest to both of these domains. Like if we want to study that whether these two proteins X and Y interact with one another or not, we will fuse the protein X to the DNA binding domain and protein Y to the activation domain. So when protein X and Y will make interaction, then DNA binding domain and activation domain will come in close proximity to one another, and then the reporter gene transcription can be started. Now we will see how the protein-protein interactions can help to elucidate the protein function. It is another key to define the function of a particular protein is to determine what other cellular components this protein binds to. So in the case of protein-protein interaction, the association of a protein of unknown function with the one whose function is known can provide a compelling implication of a functional relationship, that these proteins are actually related to one another. And a variety of techniques are used in this effort, and they vary, or their principle vary from one another. These techniques mostly include the purification of protein complexes, or to check the protein-protein interactions. Now, one of which is immunoprecipitation, in which we precipitate the complex of proteins that making interaction with one another. Another technique is the tandem affinity purification tags, and the third, which is most commonly used to elucidate the protein-protein interaction and their function, is the yeast to hybrid system. So the first method to find out the protein-protein interaction or to find the protein partners is immunoprecipitation, or we can call it as the IP. Immunoprecipitation technique is, in this technique we can fuse the gene encoding a protein which is under study with a gene for an epitope tag. This is the gene for our protein, that gene of interest, and we make it fuse with an epitope tag, and it is expressed under the control of a common promoter. And when it is expressed in the cell, it can make interaction with other protein, and this protein complex then can be precipitated out along with the fused protein by complexing it with the antibody that is specific to that of epitope tag, and this process is known as immunoprecipitation. We can define it as precipitating the protein product of the fusion gene by complexing it with the antibody that binds the epitope, and that epitope is expressing with the gene of interest. This technique is used to purify and enrich the protein of interest out of a protein mixture. And if the tag protein is expressed in the cells, other proteins that bind to it can be precipitated out with it. And the protein complex which is precipitated out, we can identify the associated protein, and their identification will reveal some of the intracellular protein-protein interactions of the tagged proteins. So for example, there are many variations which are employed in this process, but we can see here one example in which you can see that we have actually expressed a protein with the by binding it to the epitope tag or expressing it with the epitope tag. So in this example we are using the epitope tag to study the protein-protein interaction. We have cloned the gene of interest in next to the epitope tag, and then resulting fusion protein is precipitated by antibodies that bind to that epitope. Any other protein that is making interaction with the tag protein will also be precipitated out, and it will help to find out to elucidate the protein-protein interaction. Like this is the expressed tag protein within the cell. We have prepared the cell extract, and then we have used the antibody which was specific to the epitope tag. The protein, our protein which is fused with the epitope tag, it will be precipitated out with this epitope tag by binding to the antibody. Then we will separate the precipitated protein, and then we'll run it on the gel, and we can see this is the marker that shows the fragment of different sizes. This is the control of pure tag protein, and this is the immunoprecipitate product in which we have identified the new proteins that were making interaction with the pure tag protein. Like we have in this we have loosened the interaction of different proteins with the tag protein, and this is only the pure tag protein, and these three proteins are the proteins which were making interaction with the tag protein, and we have identified these protein by using the technique of immunoprecipitation. Here we will see the modification of the immunoprecipitation technique that we have discussed on previous slide. In immunoprecipitation, we have said that we have a recombinant protein, and we treat the recombinant protein with the cell extract, and the cell extract proteins can interact with our protein, and then we actually immunoprecipitate our protein of interest by using the antibody against that protein. And chromatin immunoprecipitation is an important experimental approach which is used to determine especially the region of the DNA to which the various transcription factors interact. It is in vivo plus in vitro technique. Like in this technique we isolate the cell, and then we use the formaldehyde to treat the cell so that the formaldehyde can cross-link the different proteins with the proteins or DNA with the protein. Like what kind of interactions are occurring at that time within the cell, all the interactions will be cross-linked to each other or to one another, and for this purpose we use the formaldehyde reagent. In this we will see it with the help of an example like DNA and transcription factors interaction. In the first step we will treat the cells with formaldehyde, and formaldehyde will cross-link the proteins to the DNA. As a result of which the transcription factors are now covalently cross-linked to the DNA sequence to which they were bound within the living cell. Here you can see that these are the DNA fragments to which the different transcription factors are interacting. After treating with the formaldehyde, we sonicate the cells to produce the different size fragments of chromatin. After this, sharing and extraction, like for example, we obtain the fragments of 500 base pair. These fragments of the DNA which are linked to the transcription factors are then isolated by immunoprecipitation, right? We will do the immunoprecipitation with the antibody against the transcription factor of interest. Like we are interested in some transcription factors and we want to find to which DNA region it is interacting or where it is function. What we will do, we will share the fragment and then we will add the antibody against that particular transcription factor. That antibody will bind to the specific transcription factor. Then we will collect the chromatin antibody complex, and after that we need to now reverse the cross-linking process, that we want to remove the interaction of the protein from the DNA. So the formaldehyde cross-links are then reversed and the immunoprecipitated DNA is then isolated and analyzed to determine the sites to which the specific transcription factor was bound. We can also do this with protein, like if many proteins are making interaction to one another and we want to see which protein is interacting with our protein of interest, we will reverse the cross-linking and we will purify those interacting proteins, and then we will move towards the mass spectrometry technique for the sequencing of those proteins which are interacting with our protein of interest, or in this case, like here we can see the sequence of the DNA with which the particular protein is binding. We can identify the specific regulatory element by using the PCR to detect the sequence of interest in the chromatin immunoprecipitates, or we can use a genome-wide analysis of the DNA fragments either by the large-scale DNA sequencing, by hybridization to the microarrays, which can be used to identify all the sites to which a transcription factor is bound within the cell. The selectivity of the immunoprecipitation approach has been enhanced by using the tandem affinity purification tag, and in this technique we use the two consecutive tags fused to the target protein, and the fusion protein is then expressed in the cell. The first tag is a protein A, and this protein is found at the surface of the bacteria Staphylococcus aureus, and it binds tightly. This protein actually binds tightly to the mammalian immunoglobulin IgG proteins. And the second tag which is used is shown over here, this blue color, that it is the calmodulin binding peptide that make interaction with the calmodulin protein. So this is our target protein which is shown in the red color, and we have tagged our target protein with two tags, one of which is the protein A which will make interaction with the IgG, and the second tag is calmodulin binding peptide tag. So we have prepared the cell extract in which our target protein is also in which there are different proteins, and we want to isolate the proteins which will make interaction with our target protein. So we have prepared the crude cell extract that contains the protein that will interact with the target protein, and we have prepared the target protein with double tag protein A as well as calmodulin binding peptide. In the next step, we will run the cell extract over the first IgG affinity column which bind the protein A tag. So we have prepared a column, affinity column, in which the gel, either it is saffrose or it is Saffadex or it is agarose gel, we have attached the IgG beads to it. Here you can see this is the gel, or this is the bead of the gel to which the IgG protein or antibody is attached, and the first tag, which is protein A, it will make interaction with the IgG protein, and with the help of this interaction our protein will become bound to this IgG bead, and all the proteins that were making interaction with our protein, they will also stop with it, and all the other proteins that do not interact with the target, they will be eluted out. So after this step, what we will do, we will use the TEF protease enzyme whose cutting site is present in between these two tags. This TEF protease enzyme will cleave the tag of protein A. Now after the cleaving of the tag of protein A, now the protein is with the tag of calmodulin binding protein only. Now we will use the second column of affinity chromatography, in which we make use of the calmodulin bead, so the calmodulin binding peptide can make interaction with it, and with the help of this our protein has also interacted with the bead. And now we will use the high salt buffer, or we will change the pH of the buffer. Actually we want to elute the proteins which are loosely bound to it, that they are not making the permanent interaction with the protein. So loosely bound protein will elute out first, and then we will elute the target protein with its interacting partners, or interacting proteins are also purified along with it. So the two consecutive purification steps, actually they have eliminated any weakly bound contaminants also, which are shown in the yellow color, and the false positive results are also minimized, and protein interactions that protein is making with real interaction with the real protein, they are isolated along with protein of interest. Another approach, which is actually a sophisticated genetic approach to define the protein-protein interaction, and this approach is based on the properties of the Gal4 protein, which activates the transcription of the Gal gene in the yeast. This Gal gene actually encodes the enzyme for the galactose metabolism. And the main principle of yeast 2 hybrid system is that we have a Gal4 protein, which is a transcriptional activator, and this Gal4 protein has two domains, one of which is the DNA binding domain, and it binds to a specific DNA sequence, and another one that activates the RNA polymerase to synthesize the messenger RNA from the adjacent gene, and this is known as the activation domain. This activation domain coordinates the assembly of the elements which are required for the process of transcription. As I have told you that it enables the RNA polymerase 2 to transcribe a specific reporter gene downstream of the DNA binding domain. These two domains of the Gal4 protein are stable when they are separated, but activation of RNA polymerase requires the interaction of the DNA binding domain with the activation domain, which in turn requires the positioning by the DNA binding domain. So briefly we can say that the domains must be brought together to function correctly within the cell. For this purpose, we will see how the procedure of yeast 2 hybrid system work, and what is the principle of the yeast 2 hybrid system. For this, first of all, you need to isolate the gene of interest from the genome. Like you are interested in a gene from the animal cell, so first step you will isolate the gene of interest by PCR amplification, and then by treating with the restriction digestion enzymes. And then second step is to isolate the plasmid that you are using as a vector, and you will have the Gal4 sequence on the plasmid. Like on this plasmid that we are preparing, we will have the Gal4 DNA binding domain sequence on it. Please keep it in your mind that in yeast 2 hybrid system we are using the two plasmids. One of the plasmid will carry the Gal4 DNA binding domain sequence, and the other plasmid will contain the Gal4 activation domain sequence. The procedure which is used to construct the both plasmid is same. So we will discuss the construction of the one plasmid, and the construction of the second plasmid will be the same as we will prepare this one. So we have isolated the plasmid from the bacteria, and this plasmid contains the Gal4 DNA binding domain sequence. Then we have restricted digested the plasmid with the same enzymes that we did for the gene of interest. We will ligate the mixture, and now our plasmid is ready. We will call it as a bait plasmid, and the bait plasmid will contain the Gal4 DNA binding domain and your protein of interest. In the similar way, we will construct the second plasmid, which will be the hunter plasmid, or it will contain a hunter protein where the potential binding partner is fused to the Gal4 activation domain. So here the steps are shown that after ligation we will linearize the plasmid, and then we have prepared the bait fusion protein. Similarly, as we have prepared the bait plasmid, which contain the target gene and the Gal4 binding domain, we will prepare the hunter plasmid, which will contain the target gene and the Gal4 activation domain. Then we will transform both of these plasmids to the host cell, which is a yeast. We will make the plasma membrane permeabilize with the help of certain reagents or electroporation, and then we will transform both plasmid in it, and now we will see only those yeast cell will survive which contain both plasmids, because we have divided the Gal4 protein domains into two different plasmids, and we are giving it galactose as a carbon source or energy source. And if the galactose metabolizing enzyme is being synthesized, then it will be able to grow on this media. And if there is transformation of there is transformation of one plasmid in the host, then cell will die, because it will contain only the activation domain or DNA binding domain, so it will not be able to make the galactose metabolizing enzyme. Same if the cell contain no plasmid, then cell will also die, because the galactose metabolizing enzyme is not being synthesized in the cell. So this is what actually happening, like this is the reporter gene and this is the upstream sequence to which the Gal4 DNA binding domain will interact. So if the Gal4 DNA binding domain will interact with it, and it has also its interactive partner activation domain, it will do the transcription of the reporter gene, which is a LAX-Z gene. And if one of the plasmid or has fused to it, like has transformed into the cell, and only one fusion protein is formed, which is the Gal4-BD and the bait protein, and there is no partner of Gal4 activation domain is missing, so it will result in no transcription. The reporter gene will not be transcribed. Either the Gal4 binding domain or the activation domain is present in the cell, it will result in no transcription. So when the cell contain both of the plasmids and the bait and prey proteins are making interaction with one another, we want to check the interaction of these two proteins, either these two proteins interact with one another or not. So to check that, we will fuse these two proteins to two different domains, because if these two proteins are making interaction with one another, then these two domains of Gal4 will come close to one another and they will start the transcription of the reporter gene. And if there is only one protein, like either Gal4-BD or bait or the prey or Gal4-AD, then these two domains will not come in close proximity to one another, and it will result in no transcription. So the transcription of the reporter gene will occur only when bait and prey protein interact with one another. On this slide you can see that the goal is actually to bring together the DNA binding domain and the activation domain of the yeast Gal4 protein through the interaction of the protein X and Y. Like we are interested in finding the interaction of X and Y, to which the two of the Gal4 protein domains are fused. This interaction is accompanied by the expression of the reporter gene, which is next to the region or to which these proteins are making interaction. So in this figure you can see that this is the fusion protein, or we can say that it is a bait protein in which the Gal4 DNA binding site is fused to the protein X, and this is the prey plasmid or prey protein in which we have fused the protein Y with the Gal4P activation domain. And if these two proteins are making interaction to one another, like if a protein is fused to the DNA binding domain, it will interact with the protein fused to the activation domain, then it will result in the activation of the transcription of the reporter gene. So the reporter gene transcribed by this activation is the one that yields a protein which is required for the growth, or it could be an enzyme that catalyzes a reaction with the colored product. Thus, when grown on a proper medium, cells which contain the pair of interacting proteins, they will be easily to distinguished from the one that do not. For this purpose, a library can be set up with a particular yeast strain in which each cell in the library has a gene fused to the Gal4P DNA binding domain, and many such genes are represented in the library. And in the second yeast strain, we will fuse the proteins with the Gal4 activation domain. So both of these yeast strains are mated, and individual diploid cells are grown in the form of colonies. The only cells that grow on the selective medium or that produce the appropriate color are the one in which the gene of interest is binding to its partner. So it allows the transcription of the reporter gene, and this allows the large scale screening for cellular proteins that interact with the large target proteins. The interacting proteins that is fused to the Gal4P DNA binding domain present in a particular selected colony can be quickly identified by DNA sequencing of the fusion protein gene. And the drawback of it is that it sometimes gives some false positive results due to the formation of multi-protein complexes, that instead of joining of the two proteins, more than two proteins join and a multi-protein complex is formed. So dear students, this was all about today's lecture. In this lecture we studied different approaches to study the process of protein-protein interaction. Although various experimental methods are used at different levels like cellular level or molecular level to detect the protein-protein interaction, and most commonly used method are immunoprecipitation, affinity tagging, and the Yeast-2 hybrid system. In immunoprecipitation, we have seen that if we overexpress a target protein, we prepare a recombinant target protein, and if we want to know about the interacting partners that interact with this protein, we will attach that protein and then pass the cell extract. The extract will make interaction with the protein of interest that we will elute further, and then comes the modification of the immunoprecipitation technique, which is the chromatin immunoprecipitation, in which we are actually studying the interactions or identifying the interacting partner which are present within living cell, that we treat the living cells with the formaldehyde to lock all the interactions that were occurring at that time. Then we use the specific antibody against particular protein of interest, then we immunoprecipitate it, then we reverse the covalent interaction and we separate out all the proteins that were interacting with it, and then we move towards the mass spectrometry to identify the interacting partner. Second approach was the use of the affinity tags. Like with the target protein, we are attaching the affinity tags, and here we have discussed the double affinity tag technology. Like we are tagging our protein with the protein A which interact with the IgG antibody, and the second is calmodulin binding protein that will interact with the calmodulin, and we are using these two tags to completely purify the target proteins and to remove the false interactions. Like as you have seen that when we did the IgG purification, there were certain proteins that were not completely bound to the target protein, and when we did the second purification, those proteins were washed out in the illusion, and then only the true partners were identified. Then the third most commonly used approach is yeast to hybrid system, and in which we are actually checking the interaction of two protein. In the same way, we can make the yeast 3 hybrid system or yeast 4 hybrid system is also now discovered. The basic principle of yeast to hybrid system is the interaction of the Gal protein, DNA binding domain and activation domain, because when the DNA binding domain and activation domains are interacting with one another, then they will cause the activation of the reporter gene. So if we want to check the interaction of the X protein with the Y protein, we will fuse the X protein with the DNA binding domain of the Gal4 protein and the Y protein with the activation domain of the Gal4 protein. Then we are transforming the two different yeast strain with the two different plasmid, one of which is the bait plasmid and other one is the prey plasmid. When the mating occur and the diploid yeast organism is formed, that the yeast cell which contain both of the plasmid, it will survive, because if the proteins are making interaction to one another, then the DNA binding domain and activation domain will come close together and reporter gene will show its expression that we can detect. And mostly reporter gene is the LAC-Z gene, that or some other gene which encodes certain kind of enzyme which is required to metabolize the carbon source which is provided within the media. Then if the interaction does not occur, or if in the mating process the bacterial strain that were not transformed, they can mate, and if it result in the yeast organism having or yeast cell having only one plasmid, the yeast will not be able to survive, and if the yeast cell have 0 plasmid, then it will not be able to survive because the reporter gene is not showing its expression, and due to which it is not able to metabolize the carbon source provided within the media, and it will not survive in it. So this was all about today's lecture. Please feel free to ask if you have any question in the discussion session on Big Blue Button. Thank you.